Yo, what up? It's your boy Tim, aka T.O. Speaks.
And it's your girl, Yammy, aka Yams B. Sand. And you are now tuned into
Love and Theology.
I know I've questioned many things in this world, but I never had to question your love. So I know one thing's for sure. I can put trust in a real love, your love. Yeah.
For every mom who ever missed a meal so they would have enough to let their babies eat. Fathers who grind every day to provide more than good advice. Charlie Sheen.
Yo, you know, first, how you doing, beautiful?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing good. How does it feel going through this Christmas season? Well, we already in the Christmas season. Going into Christmas, leading up to Christmas.
I'm not a holiday person.
She's not.
Not a birthday, none of it gets me enthused. All this stuff that you see right here is literally because Tim wanted it and my daughter wanted it.
That's the truth.
I
have to have it.
Why do you have to have it?
I guess because I grew up having it. It just feels correct to me. I don't know why. That's why I think I have to have it. It's just something that I grew up with, man, my whole life.
I know, but
I mean, we still haven't graduated to everything. We're gonna get there. What I mean?
No, but that's because you want me to do it. Let me tell you something. These people, when they say, "When are we gonna put up our Christmas tree? When are we gonna put up decorations?" They don't mean we. They mean me. And if it's for me, I don't really care about none of this. This light, these light. Well, I put these light. Hold on, let me put this light on real quick, so y'all can see the full effect of my hard work.
She did a nice Christmas tree this year. Usually she don't even go this far.
Are you kidding me? I always go. I go further than I want to go. The first year I bought this little crazy tree, I didn't even have ornaments on it because I don't care. That's how much I don't care about it.
But let me ask you this. So what do you?
What's one good thing?
One good thing. One good thing.
One good thing that happened this week. Oh, I'll be having a. What is one good thing that happened this week?
Great.
Okay, yeah. I just finished. I think we had talked a couple of episodes ago about how prior to the semester ending this week, technically, I had already finished my stuff. At the top of like November, I had already written my papers and all that stuff because I just knew that November and December were going to be really busy for me, so I didn't want to like procrastinate. And I was already really struggling with school, which is not something that I always do. I'm except from college, I don't know. I've always been relatively really good at school. Anyway, I ended the semester with really good grades, and I'm really proud of myself because this has been a crazy year for us. I kind of filled with like a lot of peaks and valleys and all of that other stuff that churchy people say. But through it all, I was able to kind of persevere mentally and emotionally and do something that I think I'm proud of. I mean, grades are not because if I look at my grades from when I was in my master's program, I was going through a lot then too. But they weren't all that great. But I passed it. Grades are not necessarily synonymous with doing,
understanding
or understanding or being the best whatever, but for me to see that God would allow me to do as well as I did under the circumstances was really good. What I did have to do was check my attitude a little bit because one, I don't think that I'm a person that people celebrate often. Like I pour into a lot of people, but I don't think I'm often celebrated, and I think that people just kind of look at the things that I do and be like, oh, she's just doing something again, or kind of thing. And I have been exploring this concept with my therapist about what do you need? I was like, I don't even know if it's something that I need, but it would be nice from time to time for people to be like, oh, well, I'm proud of you too, that kind of thing. What I had been noticing though is that my attitude, I was gonna diminish what I did because I don't like to. I also don't like to be front and center because I know that it makes other people feel uncomfortable, and I've had experiences in my life that make me feel like I gotta dim my light, if you will. So I was going to diminish it by saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal, whatever. And then when in the process of thinking through that, I was just kind of like, dang, it's, XYZ amount of people who, you know, maybe knew what we were going through in our family and then, like, whatever, but they won't say nothing. And I'm just kind of like, dang, that kind of sucks. But what God, I think, did for me was he redirected my perspective. Like, you can't get, like, to say, you can't get caught up in people celebrating you. First of all, several things. One, these people were maybe not as cool with you as you thought they were. Take that into account. And now you're getting to see, you had been asking, you know, God show me, and now I'm showing you. You know what I'm saying? The other part of it too is that people can't celebrate you if they've been talking trash about you.
You know, it's funny.
Am I finished? Also, third point, because I'm a preacher. Third point. Dang, you lost with the. It's okay. But basically, let me go finish what you saying.
No, I was thinking about perspective, right? You said God made you change your perspective. I got to think about what Tabitha said this week, man. You want to talk to Tabby?
No, go ahead. Tell them what Tabby said.
So, Tabby, this week I came home. I'm working, and I come home kind of late sometimes. And I see Tabitha up around, 12:30, 1 o'clock, having a whole dance party on school night by herself, so I catch her. I put her back in bed, and as I'm tucking her in, I guess I pressed down on her foot a little too hard. And she said, "Oh, Daddy, you're on my foot." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. She said, "You know what? It's okay." She said, "I'm used to it." I said, "What do you mean, why you used to it?" She said, "I keep telling y'all to stop stepping on my foot, but since y'all don't care, I just learned." What she said, "I learned to shift
my perspective."
No, she said, I just changed my mind about how I feel about it."
Yeah, that's it.
So don't be upset. I said, "Wow,
which
man."
is brilliant. Again, it is. The kid is, she's been here before. Like, I changed my mind so that I wouldn't let you effers get me all upset. That's basically what she said, girl. That's how I feel like she be saying.
Since y'all don't care nothing about my foot, and I keep telling y'all.
Stop doing this.
I just changed my mind about how I feel about it, so I don't be upset.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that that's the key. That's the key principle. And you asked the other day, it was like, where did she get this from? She get this from part of it, yes, from God, whatever, but also from us, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Tabitha, she'll drop a jewel on me often, man. I remember one time, I guess I had been not myself, you know, kind of edgy, and I was getting ready to go somewhere. And she said, "Daddy, don't let the world get you upset."
You be Tabitha.
She told me, she said, "Don't let the world get you upset. I need you to come home. I need a happy daddy when you come back home."
I know that's
she
right.
Told me.
I know that's right. Why shouldn't be dropping jewels to me? Just because I be doing good parenting.
That's probably it.
But essentially, my point is, I am celebrating this very big to me victory because I know what kind of year I've had, and I'm really, really thankful to God for keeping me mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, and all of that.
But that's awesome. I think that's a great thing to celebrate. I'm celebrating pretty much the same thing. My grades came back. They're first, she didn't say this. She got all A's, so let's celebrate that. Clap it up.
Thank you.
Through everything she pressed through. She didn't just pass, she exceedingly passed.
Anyway, back to you.
So, my grades came back. I passed. When I thought I was going to fail, I passed with 2 C's. Barely passed. Hey, but I'm happy to pass.
No, but I think that you need to really look at just the context behind that, too. Because it wasn't just that you passed. Your teacher basically told you, like, listen, you're one of my better students, but you might as well just give up on this. And you had already committed to thinking, well, I'm just going to take an extra class next year.
To catch up, right?
Yeah,
right.
and I remember we talked about it, and it was like, yeah, no, you don't gotta think like that. Just finish strong.
That's because my professor had told me. He said, asked him, I said, "What do I have to do to pass your class?" Right? He was like, pretty much on all the next assignments, he had nothing but A's. So my next assignment, I got a 77. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, why stress the final exam or any of this stuff? I'm not even gonna worry about none of it because I can't pass the class. Then Yammy was like, man, just finish strong. So I took her advice. I finished strong. And I didn't get an A on anything, mind you. but I still pulled it up to a C. From an F from a D to a C. You know.
I mean, I think that's because I think that's something to be said about that.
Because if I would have gave up, I would have never passed, like I thought.
When I think the analogy that I remember using is when you are in the academy. You were kind of back, like anybody who knows the specific academy that he came out of, the grades that you have to have in order to pass is a 90 or above. They don't take 80s, they don't take 70s, they don't take 89. So, I mean, the grades are a lot higher, but your back was against the wall then, and you still persevered.
I'm talking about, I pretty much, they consider a fail the first 2 weeks of the academy. And I had at least 70 more tests to take. And if I would have failed one more test, it was over. You were done. But you don't fail too. And I failed the first 2 weeks.
But you also know what you're capable of doing when your back's against the wall.
So that's what I'm,
grateful for.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what we talking about today?
Well, leading to this question, I'm leading up into this season. I began to get some questions about Christmas and the birth of Jesus and why we celebrate this and why we celebrate that, So I got to thinking, like, how can we lead this from the best of our knowledge? So let's start by this disclaimer. We're not claiming to know any of this stuff. Well, I'm not going to say we're not claiming to know any of this stuff. We're not experts on any of this stuff.
Nope. Not an expert, won't get it all the way right, won't have all the right language, or say we might miss something, we might misinterpret something,
right.
All that other stuff. Keep that in mind, and that's okay. We're giving you some things that you can use a lot to research on your own.
On your own. As you should. You should always fact check.
Let me tell you something. I went to a youth conference when I was a kid, where the preacher at the time said, you always bring your Bible to fact check what the pastor is saying.
Should always do that.
Let me tell you something, man. Your girl, that thing has stuck with me through and through. Yep. It just would give me a trouble.
And you know why I think
like you are not telling the truth.
And you know why I think that's important? Because even it's like the word, the Bible, right? It's an inspired word. We went at it. Yeah. But it also got human fingerprints all over.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying? Human emotion, human thought, right? And just like the preacher, he might read, he study, he does his reading, he does his studying. But when he get up there, flesh and human emotion might take over. So he might say something that...
Taking through his own lens.
Right, exactly.
Talking through his own lens. But today, we are talking about...
Advent. Since we're trying to navigate this season of how we get from, Passover, Advent, all this type of stuff.
Or what it means.
Or what it means to the Christmas holiday, even Easter, right? So
what does, for the people who may not be familiar, what is Advent?
Advent, basically, I'm gonna start it. It's a Latin prefix, a Latin prefix, right? Meaning to, and then go, right? Basically, when you translate that from the Jewish word, right? It means to come.
The Hebrew word. The
Hebrew word, it means to come, right? So basically,
not in a nasty way. Go ahead.
Why would you even do that? I don't know. Golly.
It took you all the way off.
Because you know what happened? I had some dumb stuff come to my mind that I want to say too. So you can't do me like that, my mind is like, it is what it is.
We're married. It's okay. Yeah. Anyway.
But so basically means like the arrival of a notable person or a notable event, right?
Right.
But so in this season, who is that person that we're talking about the arrival of?
We would identify that as the arrival of Christ. The other thing, though, to take into consideration is, so Advent is not necessarily celebrated across the Christianity liturgy or liturgical calendar. Every Christian don't practice that. Like, for instance, my dad is a Baptist preacher, and many of you know that I write like many sermonettes or whatever, blogs and things like that for his actual website. And I was like, okay, like, hey, I've never really heard us kind of go. I didn't hear about Advent really until I was in seminary, to be honest with you. Because like even now, my seminary sends out blurbs from students about Advent, to everybody. And I was like, dang, I wonder why.
You know what? At your school, I do see Advent all over the wall.
Yeah.
They heavily celebrate Advent. I recognize Advent.
They're cooperative Baptists. They're part of the Cooperative Fellowship Baptist, but they adopted it as an actual principle.
Can I give a plug to Mercer?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to.
But no, reason I want to is because one thing about Mercer when I went over there, they are so inclusive, man. It's such a great seminary because
they give you everything.
They pretty much destroyed the Southern Baptist way of thinking.
Well, because they're not Southern Baptists.
Right.
But But I was talking to my dad about it. I was like, just like, you know, you like, I was like, and I helped design with the design of their website. So I was like, you know, you okay with these Advent colors or the mention of Advent or whatever? He was like, yeah, Advent is traditionally more of a Catholic, you know, thing.
Right, it is.
But I don't mind the mention of it. The mention of it is not a problem. And it just dawned on me then. I was like, no wonder, because I remember thinking when I was in seminary that I wanted to adopt some of these things, principally just to kind of get in the mindset of, like, you know, knowledge and like consistent doing some of the same things all the time to help you to kind of like internalize the actions. But I never.
I think that's a good point, because I wanted to touch on that. Like, even growing up Baptist, right? I never knew what Advent was until I got older.
Yeah.
We never talked about Lent, none of that kind of stuff, right?
Y'all didn't talk about Lent, or like nobody fasted for Lent or something.
No,
like
we
that?
never did that. No, because it's not something that's practiced throughout, right? But so we didn't fast for Lent.
I don't think that we did too either. I don't think I think it became more of a cultural thing to, hey, Ash Sunday is coming up or whatever. And I remember Ash Sunday specifically because I did when I worked at the DA's office, I worked with a practicing Catholic.
Right.
So they would do the whole Ash thing, and then when I went to school, obviously. But yeah, I don't. But which is Ash Wednesday is like the precursor to the Lenten season, where you hear people saying, like, I'm giving up, you know, like pork, or I'm, you know, whatever, to fast and pray for God for 40 days until Easter.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So yeah, basically that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to help. Now, even though we don't recognize it, however, we do recognize about talking about it, because if we go through Christmas, Easter, and all that, basically that's the Advent season. Like, for
the most part, a lot of the things that we do traditionally, like putting up like the Christmas tree, for instance, or a portion of like a little bit of the wreath situation. They have a little of their background in not the Advent season per se, but like kind of that that area or whatever.
Okay, so basically, to understand, Passover and all this stuff, this thing that we have to talk about called the Christian liturgical calendar, right?
Okay.
The Christian liturgical calendar basically is a calendar of how we pretty much go from Advent to Easter, and how we get all the other stuff in between.
So one of the things that we need to consider when we talk about Advent is that Advent has a different meaning for the Western Christianity versus the Eastern Christianity. Like even when we were trying to figure out when I was trying to figure out like what is Advent per se, or what does Advent focus on? Some focus on the birth of Christ. Some focus on it's like the birth, the resurrection, and the present, and his actual present, like him being physically present or made his incarnation into man. That's what they call it.
Right.
But
not the Annunciation. They call it Annunciation when the angel came and said she'll be pregnant. So that with son. So that's not it. Okay.
Well, you don't think so. But yeah, go ahead.
So basically, the Christian, the Western, because we're pretty much talking about the Western.
Yeah.
So the Western Christian liturgical calendar pretty much revolves around two major events, right? Those two major events is the birth of Jesus Christ and the resurrection of Jesus Christ, right? We celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ when? December
25th.
The 25th. But the resurrection doesn't have a date solidified, right? I know y'all.
You was getting ready to say specific.
No, I wasn't. Right.
He struggles with saying specific, and I just be like, find a different way to say the word that you're looking.
I can say it specific. That's how you say it. So I don't know. Did I not say it right?
I just feel like that there's just too much emphasis on the SP that don't make it right.
You have to specific. That's how you say it.
I don't think that. Okay.
You say it.
Specific.
You just did the same thing I did. The exact same thing.
It don't sound the same to me. It sound like when you say.
We've been going through this since I met her. Like,
but all I'm saying is that because what you'll do is say and stutter on it, and then I'm just kind of like, well, just find a different word.
I just said specific.
No, you were getting ready to say specific, and you chose
specific.
a whole different. You chose 3 other phrases.
Whatever,
to cover
man.
that. I'm just saying, skip that part just to go to there.
Okay, but anyway, Easter always changes, right?
Okay.
So I think as Christians, people that celebrate Easter, we should ask the question like, why does Easter change?
Okay.
Why is it not the same, right? So have you ever thought about that? Like, why does Easter change?
To be honest with you, I would have probably went blindly into this religious serving Jesus without any real context. Unless he had called me. I'm not going to even lie to you. Be like, okay, that's what we do. All right, cool.
I mean, it ain't nothing wrong with that, but
It is kind of something wrong with it.
Yeah.
You gotta know what you believe, and I'm talking about. I would have been like, all right. So we hanging up Christmas trees. We out here sacrifice. Like if the part of the Christian faith was to cut the blood and share it with the party. Oh, well, I guess that's what we do. That's probably why God called me. But go ahead.
But see, even with the birth of Christ, the birth of Christ, right, Jesus. I think what was it? As early as the 3rd century, it was Bishop. I can't never say his name right.
Well,
Bishop Hippolytus, right?
Mm.
He wrote an edict. I think not an edict. That's probably not the right thing. But anyway, he wrote it in that we would celebrate Jesus' birth on December 25th. So as early as the 3rd century, that's been the date that's been set in stone, right?
Which was based off of the winter solstice.
Right.
So because Jesus's affinity was to be in the sun, which I didn't even realize until we were looking at this. They don't say it's not the sun SON of God; it's the SUN of God.
Right.
So because the winter solstice, like the way that the equator fits on the world or whatever, they based the day, the 25th, off of that.
Well, I think that's a good thing to get into. It has a lot to do with the winter solstice, and also, so I think even next week after Christmas, should we lead into that conversation? How we get the birth?
I don't know if you want to, but it was that, and then the fact that 9 months before then was they think that 9 months before then is when Mary was.
The Annunciation.
Yeah, was said that she was going to have birth.
Right.
Although, not for nothing, it don't take 9 months to create a baby. It take 10.
So that's exactly what it is. I think I want to say, what is it, Easter? You backtrack 9 months, and what date do you get? December 25th.
No, and that's how
basically how it comes, man.
But also, 40 weeks is not 9 months. 40 weeks is.
Well, if you look at even a lot of the stuff that they do, even like what is it? I want to say Passover.
Yeah.
It's something. It's Pentecost, right?
Okay.
We celebrate it for 50 days, but it's actually 49. But but
on the 50th. Oh, you're supposed to be on the 50th day,
right?
Yeah, because Penta means 5.
Right. So, but anyway, so in order to understand Christmas, we first got to determine what Easter, right? Once Easter is determined, and we fill in Easter, oftentimes we can fill in the rest of the holidays. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So basically, back in the early Christians, they knew and understood that Jesus. They understood Jesus was crucified and resurrected around the same time as Passover. So now, in order to understand Easter, what do we have to understand now? Passover.
Okay.
You know, it's so much behind it, man. So to understand Passover, what do you have to understand? The vernal equinox, man. You know, everybody should have learned the vernal equinox, something about the equinox in elementary school, right? The vernal equinox.
I don't remember.
So what is the vernal equinox, right? This is the time when the sun crosses the plane over the Earth equator, making it day and night approximately at the same time. This is the only time, it happened twice, it's the only time that the sun pretty much is equal around the world.
So when people say, how is it that Christ died on the 3rd day when it was from Friday to Sunday, technically, right? Mm-hmm. What people don't understand is that people didn't have time like we have now. They had they based time off of the sun going up and going down.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So the hypothesis is that the sun went up and down because Friday to Saturday. Friday is Saturday, Sunday. It's 2 days.
Right.
The sun went up and down, which gave them an additional 3rd day, which is why they said Christ was risen on the 3rd day. And You know this based off of the vernal equinox, where it says it's day and night at the same time,
At the same time,
it goes.
Yeah, and that's why we have critics that say, "How could Jesus die on Friday and then raise on Sunday? It's not 3 days," because they didn't recognize days the same way we recognize days. You know? But so really, was it a full 3 as we see it? No, it wasn't.
Probably not.
Probably not. You know. But anyway, so you got anything to add to that?
No.
I feel like I'm giving this lesson, man.
Because you are.
And I'm doing too much reading. So you got to break up the lesson. You just can't let me give the lesson.
I don't know. I don't know where you're going with it. So go ahead.
No. Basically, I'm just giving how we even come to this realization of Passover, right? So you had the early Christians that would celebrate the resurrection anytime the vernal equinox fell. It didn't matter if it was Wednesday, Thursday. And then you had another group of Christians that was like, we can only celebrate it on Sunday. So now you got two different bodies of Christians celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ, some on Wednesday, some on Sunday. So Constantine was the first Roman emperor to pretty much turn the government into Christianity, right? So he pretty much was coming. He was like, man, everybody, doing all this paganistic stuff. He said he just want to get everything, pretty much Christian oriented, right? In the Roman Empire. So he pretty much and then he saw how much division was, how Christians would do everything different. Nobody was on the same page. So one of the biggest things that he wanted to do was pretty much get everybody on the same page. So one of the major things that Constantine wanted to do was, pretty much one of the major topics of the meeting was to pretty much get these holidays on the same page. Everybody on the same page. That's what he wanted. He wanted unity throughout the same page. And through the Council of Nicaea, what happened was that's how we come up with that's how we got the Holy Catholic Roman Church, right? Catholic meaning one, unity. That's what Catholic means. So basically, it's a lot that goes into our understanding. I think that most of the time, we just do this thing as Christians, don't ask the question like, why do we have this or why do we have that? So
no, I agree. I think we do need to ask more questions about our traditions, for instance.
So we have now just entered to the season. Well, we're getting ready to end the season of Advent. Advent pretty much ends on Christmas Eve. So the question was asked, like, why do we celebrate this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I began to to ponder on it and think about it, like, why do we celebrate Advent?
And this is really a good question for you because because it's not Advent. Why do we celebrate Christmas? I think that was the question.
That's pretty much it. Why do we
celebrate Christmas? Which and Advent and Christmas are not the same thing. They're synonymous. They're close in proximity, but they're not the same thing. But this is a very good question for you because to me all of this is frivolous. Well, it's laborious for me, and I don't see the point. I don't get excited about it.
I think when I asked that when they asked that question, I began to think about it. I was like, why do we celebrate Christmas on December 25th? And I was thinking like, why? But then I had to think about the meat of it, like where did it come from? And pretty much Christmas and Passover and all these things that we celebrate it's wrapped up in this thing called the Christian liturgical calendar, right?
So basically, with the Western, there are different focuses for Advent. Like for some, the focus is on the coming of Christ, meaning his birth. Some for his presence, meaning his reincarnation into human form, and then some his second coming. And I guess the different focuses on that kind of give the perspective on like what they're reading in the liturgical calendar or during that time, or what they're singing. For instance, there's a hymn, O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel, the morning in the lonely exile here, until the Son of God appears. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. So you listen to like that hymn, you understand that the focus there's a different texture. It's not presence. It's not necessarily giving. Some of it is kind of like it's redemptive. Like, okay, our hope is finally coming.
Right. And you know what? That's basically pretty much through the studies that I did. Basically, that's all Advent is about. From Advent leading up to after Advent on Christmas 25th, we go into this thing called Christmas Tide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that's when we get on the 12 days of Christmas. You know,
Yeah,
we get
yeah.
the song on the first day of Christmas. Yeah, because it's 12 days, it's called the Christmas Tide, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
where that song come from. But this whole season, right, in the Christian liturgical calendar, right, pretty much Pentecost, Christmas, all these, the Easter, goes back to that one song, man. It's
Yeah.
all about Jesus, man.
And his redemption.
Yep.
I guess too, I think you have to look at it from a perspective of, I don't think that African Americans realize the similarities between them and like the Israelites as much as they should, because they were in captivity under subjection to like Roman rule, specifically around this time frame, and they had been hearing for seasons about the coming of the Messiah. I mean, years. Like, God is going to send, someone to redeem us, and they had their visions of what that looked like. So when the news of the birth of Christ comes, they're like, yo, finally, my people are going to be set free.
And you know what? I think that's so good, because if you really understand everything that goes into this season, man, you kind of want to throw the presents away. You know what I mean? Because even like we go into the Palm Sunday, right? That's Palm Sunday when Jesus pretty much came to the city of Jerusalem. They took down the palm branches later on, and he came in on a donkey, right? But so that begins what we call Holy Week, right? If you understand Holy Week and everything that he went through, what we celebrate leading up to Christmas, leading up to his death and resurrection, from his birth, all this was a part of God's plan, man. All of it, right? So I think we done watered it down. No, we celebrate Christmas. I love it. It's a tradition. But we water it down. We forget, man, everything that went through this.
Here's how you bridge that, because you were getting ready to cut this off, and what it is that it's a lot. I think what you were trying to convey too is that a lot of this whole Christianity walk, a lot of the Christmas stuff that we talk about has human imprint on it. We're putting our whole selves on a very big thing,
right?
As opposed to focusing on areas. And that doesn't mean that we shouldn't celebrate or give presents or be kind to one another,
right,
or do all those things. But there's everything. I feel like most things or everything has a root, and when we confess to believe what we believe,
right,
it's probably more important that we know, in fact, what we believe or the root of what we believe.
Right.
I think the issue that a lot of specifically African Americans, when I think about like the slave trade and all that stuff, what they tried to take from African Americans specific, or not African Americans, but people who the African diaspora, people who have African descent, for instance, is their culture and their history and their root, because then they wouldn't be able to identify or connect where they are. When you read about the story of the lineage of Jesus, it tells you about the root and the history behind it. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or not all of them, but Matthew and Luke specifically talk about the lineage. Why? Because it points to where you came from.
Right.
When you know where you came from, you can't be susceptible to anything else. Or you're least likely to be susceptible to the wiles of the enemy. If you know that you come from, and I think in part that's what helped or aided Jesus in coming here. If I could put my own imprint on it,
right,
it's that he understood, he knew where he was coming from, and he knew his purpose.
Right.
When you know your purpose, you can't be dissuaded or dismissed from doing it. You may have low points, you may have points where you want to give up, you may have points where it just feels like you're angry and you don't want to even participate, but you'll still keep on with the mission because you're so focused on the purpose behind why you came.
Right.
So when we think about Christmas, when we think about Advent, when we think about this whole season, I think that focusing on the purpose helps us to refocus and reposition ourselves so that we're not caught up in a lot of this season is very reflective. You know what I'm saying? So you get like I was mentioning earlier, you start thinking about what did happen or what didn't happen, what was good, what was bad, all that other stuff. And sometimes when you do that, if you're not careful, the enemy might poke holes through what you're thinking in order to keep you in bondage and to have you believing that everything was bad. And I'm saying this to say that when we think about the Christmas season, we probably need to it's probably what the Bible tells us to ponder on the good things of the Lord, because what it does, it helps embrace our perspective.
Right, yep.
So I dig both the Eastern and Western theology concerning Christmas, because it gives you a full throttle. Focusing too much on Christ dying for our sins is somber. And there is, even in the lighting of the Advent candles, most of them are purple. Then there's one that's like rose or whatever, and that's supposed to be symbolic of joy.
Right,
and
right.
there is a joy in knowing that we have now have the opportunity of being redeemed. If should we believe or accept Christ as our personal Savior or what have you.
Right. I mean, and that's really good. I think what you just said is so good. We can pretty much end it on that, because that was just such good theology right there, right? But yeah, I think everything you said is true. And I think that comes with really understanding the whole season. Like, you could understand, like, even when I was doing the studying, and all this stuff was being brought up, like you call it like Holy Week, right? Every week has a different name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every week has a different. I keep going, but you going to Christmas and going to Holy Week, because I think all of it ties in together. You want
to focus on his death so bad.
No, because the death brings us life.
I'm with it.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? But once you understand all the stuff that led up to that, man, like, can you just imagine, like what you said, man, his birth, and knowing that he got to come into this world to save a bunch of people who was ungrateful, who only wanted him to come because they wanted him to be saved from the hands of the Romans. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say that they were ungrateful, though. I think that I think that that's what they. I think sorrow and grief will do that to you.
It will. And then the funny thing about it, Jesus didn't even come to take them away from the Roman control. He was coming to save them from sin. From soul. And that's why a lot of them couldn't understand it. It was like, man, Jesus is not doing none of this. He died from.
Oh, that's why they thought that he was going to be like a great warrior.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And that's like that's not his judge. You know what I'm saying? So.
But did I do it again?
You want to teach somebody so bad.
Hey man, I love teaching.
No,
I think it's important, man.
No, I don't.
But it just don't flow with this. We're gonna get it right. Let's do it one time.
Okay.
We're gonna get it right. We got to. Let's start it all over from the beginning. I think we can go better. Okay. Are you tired, baby?
Can I be honest with you, people? It's been a struggle to get this one little episode. We've never had a struggle like this ever in recording this episode. So what you about to get is a bunch of chopped up parts of the many multitude of episodes that we shot that I thought were decent. Okay? God bless you, God keep you. And enjoy. And comment and like and say something nice.
I just saw somebody. Yo, what up? It's your boy Tim, aka T.O. Speaks.
And it's your girl Yammy, aka Yams be saying, and you are now tuned into Love and Theology.
Alright.
This is the last time we gonna do this.
Yo, what up? It's your boy Tim, aka T.O. Speaks.
And it's your girl Yammy, aka Yams be saying, and you are now tuned into Love and Theology.
Yo, let's just.
The point that I'm trying to make is that I have never received a gift on Christmas from Tim.
So basically, let's get back to the topic. So
it's like Christmas back in the day. Like, at least growing up was about coming back to school with the flyers gear and showing off or whatever. But everybody doesn't have those same resources. And even for us, when I think about God's grace over our lives, for real, this particular season should have been a real wash.
But actually, it's turned out to be an abundant.
Yeah, like crazy. But I also think that a part of it is because, like, especially with me when it comes to money, my philosophy with money was like, let me hold on to it as much as possible. But in the process of God reshaping my mentality, specifically from 2020 until now. The more I've released, the more I've received. So we've said a lot.
So, basically, in the day, it's Christmas pagan holiday. Who knows? What is pagan? Pagan means nothing but any holiday that's celebrated. Why do we make this pagan thing such?
What does pagan mean?
It means any holiday that's celebrated outside of belief of the westernized world, or the normal world, pretty much. So anything that Constantine made religion, if you don't believe in that, you celebrate anything else, it's considered pagan. That's all it is.
Oh yeah, a person holding religious beliefs other than those of the main world religions.
Right. So basically, like we make it like this crazy devilish type thing. Man, it's pagan. When it's not, because what we believe in is pagan as well. Because it's what Constantine. If you want to consider something pagan, you understand what I'm saying? It was Constantine.
Let's just end this episode. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in to the Love and Theology podcast. We have been struggling today. We hope that you enjoyed these pockets of the good parts of what we were talking about.
A struggle. Let's just do it over when I come back.
Yeah, I'm gonna have it edited and submitted.
Don't do it. Erase it. Man. Let's just do it
man.
over. We can.
No, we can't.
We can.
Hey, for what?
God, this is terrible.
Yeah, but then that means I'm gonna be editing into the night. I ain't gonna do it. So y'all gonna get these the parts that were good of the many shots that we took for this, and then we gonna try again for next week.
Yeah.
That's your stomach. Okay. Well, bye, guys.
I know I've questioned many things in this world, but I never had to question your love. So I know one thing's for sure. I can put trust in a real love, your love.
For every mom who ever missed a meal so they would have enough to let their babies eat. Fathers who grind every day to provide more than good advice. Charlie Sheen, take it everything you gotta take to bring the bacon home and put it on the table. You are not forgotten. Legacies are made in our darkest hours. God is watching. Keep your faith. Don't bend, don't fold. There's a lyric I quote. Tell me trouble don't last always. There's a Christ I know who revives the soul of the one who lose their way. Pursue the one who promised us a peace of mind. I tried to fly high on my choice of vice, but then I found Christ was the road to life.